live on Facebook.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's council meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First thing I'm going to do is open up for public forum if there's anybody here wishing to address the council. Seeing nobody in the audience but city employees, I'm going to go ahead and close the public forum and move on and ask for agenda changes. Is there any tonight, Ethan?
No changes to present this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Well, then I'll ask for the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign. That stands as passed. Move on to unfinished business. First item is distressed property at 308 Chestnut. And what do you got for us there, Ethan?
We received an update from the prospective buyer. Just noted the sale had still not has gone through, but they're still engaging the repairs. Repairs are still ongoing on the building per the building permit. There was talk that an engineer had been out and evaluated some of that. We have not received that from the city, but we have reiterated to the property owner that we want a copy of the structural engineer report if they did indeed bring another structural engineer out, so.
When you say another structural, are you saying as opposed to the one from MKEC or the same engineer?
No, they used,
Neil Satcham.
yeah, Neil, and that's who they contracted with. If we just asked for any copy of structural engineer, because
Okay.
technically, like when the city gets MKEC, we do that on our dime. So we're willing to take another licensed engineer's opinion.
Well, just to be clear, and I talked to him after our last meeting because he's the same engineer I use, and he is not doing this under the banner of MKEC. He's doing this under his own personal practice.
Yeah,
And so I'm just letting you know that. So,
but other than that, I don't know if Brad's received any updates on the legal side of thing, but repairs are still ongoing. I don't know that Pat, in terms of the inspection of it, has had any concerns with the work, so I don't know if you guys just want to continue status updates, giving more time for
Sure.
remaining repairs to be completed, because as we've discussed multiple times, as far as final ownership of the property is kind of out of our purview, so.
and will you want to go for a couple of weeks, the next, or
Let's do it the first meeting next year.
first?
I'd say January 13th would be our first meeting, basically a month from now.
All right. Well, with that, Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to table, or not table, but to revisit the distressed property hearing at 308 Chestnut till January 13th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to continue the distressed property hearing at 308 Chestnut to January 13th at our next regular council meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign, that carries. Now we'll move on to a distressed property at 217 Main. What do you know there, Ethan?
We have not had any updates from the gentleman who presented to you all a month ago, nor from the property owner. I don't believe
No.
Brad's had any, so, in absence of us having any update, I know he was talking like maybe he had prospective buyers or anything. We literally have no status update. I don't know.
Do we
if the
have any
council-
contact information for that fella?
The owner? Is that who or the other gentleman?
Or the other guy,
Yeah,
either
I have a
one.
phone number.
You want to reach out to either or of those?
Sure.
Kind of see where they're at?
We also have an email address for the gentleman that was
Yeah.
here the evening that presented.
Yeah.
I would continue that to the same meeting and we'll revisit that again unless you have anything else you want to add to that, Ethan.
My only, suggestion, I guess, since we're kind of past the first one, is maybe having legal counsel prepare a resolution, to set another date for there to be some sort of action on the property. We've already gone past the initial, which was December of last year, and the only reason we've kind of delayed action was because of the indication from the property owner that the property would be transferred to the land bank, and that seems to be in flux again, and I don't know that, it's up to you all, but
No,
I don't see a lot of
We've been more than willing to work with them. Time to turn the heat up a little bit.
With that, Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to revisit this distressed property at 217 Main until the 13th of January, and also to direct council to prepare a resolution regarding future progress on this project.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to continue the distressed property hearing for 217 Main and for council to develop the next step. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, that carries. Now we'll move on to new business, and the first item is the 2024 audit engagement. As you guys know that have been on the council for some time, Knutson Monroe always audits our books for the city, so it's time to do that again. Ethan, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
No, just the expected cost for the audit for 2024 is 15,500. It's about a 7% increase year to year. We do build that into budget, including the annual adjustment, and typically we see that, just as their input costs go up, and then rightfully so, our assets, they do a little more work since helping make sure, grants are in compliance, that kind of thing is part of the audit, so. And we've enjoyed a very long and good working relationship with Knutson, so.
I'll motion to approve 2024 audit engagement. Said Knudsen Monroe for the amount not to exceed $15,500 and authorize staff and mayor to sign necessary documentation.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the 2024 audit engagement with Knutson Monroe. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Good, that passes. I'm just glad to know that we have grant stuff they have to go through for us. That means we're doing good getting those grants. Next item is the refuse collection contract with Nisley Brothers.
For their successful winning RFP and your vote to accept that, we've been working on this contract for a 10-year service term. This has been both by our legal counsel as well as our general liability insurer, as well as their counsel in agreement. So sets the rates there, the impact, which feeds into the next agenda item, but just for those of you with a 10-year term, basically our base refuse rates can have up to a 4% CPI increase every year, but any actual rate increases won't be assessed to the city until on a biennial basis, so it would be every 2 years that we potentially would see a rate increase. But that does mean, of course, the max we would see depending on that CPI is 8%. And then it does also note that as Harvey County adjusts their tipping fees, which typically occurs annually, there is also small rate increases associated with that, so.
When do they do that?
They typically make that decision as part of their budgetary cycle, and then they go into effect in January. So we got notice in September, and they usually go up like $1, essentially has been kind of their norm the last couple of years. And so for every $1 in tonnage, Nisley can adjust all the rates by 10 cents a month, so.
Okay, thanks.
With that, there's no more questions or discussion. Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve agreement between Nisley Brothers Incorporated and the city of Halstead, Kansas for solid waste collection services for an initial term of 10 years and authorizing for the mayor to sign the agreement on behalf of the city of Halstead.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the contract with Nisley Brothers. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That passes. Next, we'll move on to resolution number 2024-16. It's solid waste collection rates. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to bump them a little bit.
Yeah, we had benefited for many years with that initial contract with Nisley, which saw rates hold steady for our initial 5 years, and then we had a pretty minimal increase for that 3-year renewal term. Market has caught up and dictated. These new rates are based on those rates, updated rates from Nisley. Essentially, we're seeing $3 a month for the basic service, so resident would go from 16 to 19, and senior goes from 13 to 16. The largest single increase, and this was reflected in Nisley's bid, was actually on the additional cart services. That rate is jumping from $2.50 to $6.50 per cart. So it's not out of the norm. It's very similar to what we see like with water of heavier users, pay for that. And 95 gallon, in Nisley's opinion, is a pretty good amount of trash for a household to produce on a single basis. So that will probably be the single biggest change that people might see, especially if they have, I mean, we have some accounts now that have 4 or 5 cards, so.
I'll motion to adopt and approve resolution 2024-16, setting rates for solid waste collection for residential properties, City Halstead.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 2024-16. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. That passes. Yeah, I've got 2 dumpsters myself at the house, and I think one of them's just for Amazon boxes.
That's what the brown one's for.
We have no executive session scheduled this evening, which is kind of refreshing. And we'll move on to the report section of the agenda. I'll start with governing body comments, and I'll start with you, Charlie.
Things are looking good. Things are good, looking good in this city. The activities we had this weekend were, I thought, well attended. The weather really cooperated. And I think the vendors were, at least at the middle school, were pretty happy with what happened there with the bazaar. And I don't know who the Santa Claus was, but I heard he did a great job. That's it.
George?
No, sir, I have nothing.
Josh?
No.
Well, I'll probably steal some of Ethan's thunder here, but I'm happy to report that the Riverside Park sign has been replaced. It is up. I'll drive by there and check it out. If you look real close, it's gonna take a lot more than a derecho to take it down next time. It looks like it's pretty heavy duty, so I was glad to see that back up. It is nice driving around in the evening this time of year and seeing all the holiday decorations up around town. Would like to really encourage everybody to participate in that. And my excuse was I put gutter guard on so my light clips won't work, so I'm not putting lights up this year. So with that, I'll move on to Ethan for the city manager report.
Thank you. Not a lot to report on this evening. The spec building, we're basically just, everything is finalized minus running the service lines for the water and wastewater services. So we're still on track to hopefully get that occupancy certificate issued before the end of the year, complete that. We did receive our second half of funding from the state for that project. So look forward to getting that done and getting that building marketed. As Mayor Travis indicated, the replacement for Riverside Park sign has been installed, so thankful to Martin Machine for the work on that and that upgrade to the sign, which hopefully will withstand our next high wind event. Just want to thank Public Works for their work in getting the Christmas decorations up, and then Parks and Rec for helping the volunteers, specifically Macy Muellers, the director of the Community Foundation, in the Christmas Jingle event this weekend. It was a good event, lots of activities downtown. Saw lots of people, that attended all or part of the day. Just great to see that event go off. So thank you to everyone involved in having that done. I want to say congratulations to our golf superintendent, Sam Eberly. He was chosen to be the president of the Kansas Golf Course Superintendents Association. So he's a long time served on that board and moved into that president role. So we appreciate his dedication, him representing the city and his profession. I recently just got back from the Kansas Association of City County Management conference that was in Olathe last Wednesday through Friday. I will continue my service on the board there, moving from the treasurer to the secretary position. And then I will also be attending my first KMIT board meeting this Friday, representing the city on the KMIT board, which is our work comp insurer. So happy with that, and look forward to learning more and representing our city there. We, other than that, are preparing for end of year. So lots of transition, getting the books closed out, getting prepped for Knutson Monroe to come in very early in January and get that done. So we're pretty busy just handling these normal year-end things, and then just some updates or reminders that City Hall will be closed on the 24th and 25th for the Christmas holiday, and then we'll also be closed on January 1st. So other than that, that is all I have unless there's any specific questions. Our next meeting is on the 23rd, so just hopefully we'll have agendas are kind of light towards the end of the year. We'll do our best to make it because I know that's right before the holiday for everyone. But if that doesn't work or people are going to be out of town, please make sure you let Julie or I know so we can make sure we have a quorum for that scheduled meeting. And I'll also ask, and we'll send out an email reminder, if you guys want to bring in your council iPads, we'll make sure those get up to date. And I know some of the links had broken to when we switched websites and whatnot. We'll try and get taken care of that and get them back to you before that first meeting in January and make sure they're back up and functioning as they should be. So, and other than that, the other thing, which I think Julie shared with some of you, is we are in the midst of putting the halstead.gov website or using that as our main URL that has been requested and eventually will be a mandate. So we're just trying to stay ahead of the curve there, and we'll eventually switch email addresses and things like that. We are going to retain ownership of our .com though, so it will always redirect. Sure.
Planning and zoning is next Monday night.
Oh, yes, thank you. Planning and zoning, public hearing for the updated BEST regulations will be next Monday at 6:30 PM here at City Hall. So anyone that wants to come, those are available on the website now for people to download and read and have been sent out, and they'll take public comment on the proposed regulations. So thank you, Charlie.
Anybody else have questions for Ethan? If not, that concludes our agenda, and I would entertain a motion
I'll
for
motion to
adjournment.
adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for adjournment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you, council.